It is time for college football talks to begin as we are, well, the day before April Fool's Day ish. Looking at, less than, we're just a couple months away from Big Ten football kicking off and football in general. Welcome, Jordan, back. It's 2026 season for the 2027 college football championship, whatever format that may be. And what a year it was. We're not going to rehash the year. Everyone's already aware. We're going to kick off today's talks by going over some coaching carousel things. Number one, let's talk about Michigan and Penn State. Michigan gets Kyle Whittingham, bringing over. He's also bringing over, I believe, his offensive coordinator as well. Let me take a double. Yeah, offensive coordinator Jason Beck. So we're getting the Utah coaching staff essentially. And then Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I'm not aware of any major changes that he's bringing, but these are two teams that were doing decent in what we would consider a mid-major football program, to a major football program. I mean, I know mid-major doesn't really exist, but at the end of the day, it's college basketball season. Figure I'd give a shout out to that. And the fact that both schools, Michigan and Penn State, have a lot of nervous fans out there right now. And imagine being in the seat where you get a Kyle Whittingham who's, grandpa. How does that affect their next couple of years? Can they really, this is my question. Ultimate question is, can either team reach 10 wins this year with these changes?
I definitely think they both can. I'm definitely higher, unfortunately, on Kyle Whittingham in Michigan. It's because I'm a little bit higher on the roster that he's not only retaining from Michigan, but then the players he's bringing from Utah. On the Penn State side of things, he's bringing most of his, a lot of Iowa State players, and there isn't as much retention on the Penn State side. Michigan really didn't lose that much that they weren't already planning on losing, whereas Penn State lost everybody, and he's having to just fill them up with Iowa State guys and whatever else he could get from the portal. So I just think for this first season, much higher on Michigan. And I think they have a better chance at getting to 10 wins.
I do not see either team getting to 10 wins. I think that Michigan has a shot just because Bryce Underwood and the recruiting that they've been able to maintain despite, because this stuff happened early last year. So we're well beyond what happened with Moore and the previous debacles that they have had. Moving on to a couple other head coach changes. Michigan State gets Pat Fitzgerald. We did talk about this a couple of months ago in December, I think, is when it was announced that Pat Fitzgerald is just a great person. He's a great leader. He's got an impeccable record as a player, and then brings an equally impeccable. He took a dead Northwestern program in the early 90s as a player and took him to the Rose Bowl. And then a few years later, he finds himself back on the staff. And then after, some unfortunate circumstances, he becomes the head coach and runs the coach for a decade and a half, or runs that head coaching position. Does really well at Northwestern. Game Days made an appearance or two there under his leadership, and they've gotten some hardware in the conference side, and they've won a bunch of bowl games that they never 40 years ago never even attempted to get. But they also brought over Chip Kelly, and he was running UCLA. So I think this move for Michigan State is a positive, seeing that they have been down in the dumps for quite a while now.
I do. I do too. I think again, when it comes to, like you mentioned, Whittingham and then Matt Campbell, I think Fitzgerald's a rung below them just in terms of, again, what program he's inheriting. He's got a long way to go. He's got a long way to go
at Michigan State.
At Michigan State to get them back to a place where they'll be competitive at the top. Again, with how good the top of the Big Ten is right now, it may take even longer than that. But I think Petty Fitz is here for the long haul, and I would hope that with just because he is who he is as a coach. You'd hope that they at least be able to get to a bowl game in year one. I think that would be. I don't know if
Oh,
it's the expectation, but it would be. I think if they got to a bowl game, it would be considered a successful season. Again, considering what he's taking over, obviously Michigan State had their own issues with coach controversies with Mel Tucker, and then the
yep.
Jonathan Smith thing just didn't work out. So he isn't inheriting um, a program that's in the right direction. He's got to turn it there himself. So again, I think he'll do pretty good early, but it's going to take some time for them to get to that truly competitive level.
So Northwestern getting Chip Kelly. Um, I think that's great for that program. Like, there's probably no other person that they could have gotten this for recruiting that would be able to bring in such a good players and be able to develop their current players. So, yeah, huge. Let's move on to quarterback carousel. So we've got what I anticipated, or maybe what I just wanted, was the little brother at Indiana to come up and be the quarterback next year. But Indiana and Cignetti chose exactly opposite of that. They bring Josh Hoover from TCU, and he's just essentially a pocket passer from what I can tell. And if they want to keep up the playoffs, they need a good quarterback. Now, I don't consider Mendoza a pocket passer, so we may see some changes to their approach this year. But would you have done that? Would you have brought over Josh Hoover?
Yeah, I think he's the perfect guy, honestly. And I know this is mainly a quarterback segment, but pairing him with getting an old Michigan State receiver, Nick Marsh, I think that's a perfect tandem right there. And I'm not really expecting much of a drop off from Indiana this year at all. Kurt Cignetti has proven just through his first couple of years that he can recycle players in and out. And obviously they're going to start defensively. That's where it has to start for them. But I don't see them taking too much of a step back on either side of the ball, especially on offense.
Okay. Agree or disagree? I, I don't know that Josh Hoover is Mendoza, and I think that the entire
No,
program. I think the entire program the last 2 years was Mendoza focused, especially if the NFL teams are seeing in Mendoza what Mendoza, because Indiana essentially, to get a draft pick like that, I mean, it's obvious that Mendoza was running things, and Signetti is proven. But anyway, Raiola from Nebraska to Oregon, and this is something that's interesting because it's an intra-conference move. I mean, he's headed over there, and he has Dante Moore. Can this Oregon team be better than they were because of Raiola? It is so unproven. I doubt it. I highly. This
well,
is
I don't. He's not going to be the quarterback, so I don't think it really matters. I think Moore is great, and I think him leveling up his game is going to determine ultimately how far Oregon can go this year. They've got a great roster again. They always have great rosters. They're just one of those teams. A classic case of guys are not really going to Oregon because they want to. I don't know. I should have thought of this before I tried to say it. The guys aren't going to Oregon because they love Oregon. They're going
right.
for money and because Oregon's uniforms are fancy and they've been a good program. It's just
Hard to believe that, but yeah.
they just always seem like a team that's a collection of players and not as much a team sometimes, if that makes sense. Um, they just don't seem to have the chemistry and connectivity like a team like Indiana. Ohio State's been able to form that probably a lot more recently as well, and so I don't know. That's the only thing I worry about. But I think Oregon's gonna be really good. They're probably gonna make the playoff again. I
Okay.
think Moore is a
That's
fantastic
a big
QB.
statement. Yeah. Not so much big news, but interesting news. I looked at the top 60 quarterbacks in football. I believe it was a Sports Illustrated article, and they have Aiden Childs down at number 57, which is not very good. But he did transfer from Michigan State to Northwestern under Chip Kelly. Now they have a dual threat weapon, and Northwestern has done pretty well. Again, I'm not promoting Northwestern to good. I'm just saying that that's a pretty interesting move because with the changes they've made, they take away from Michigan State as Fitzgerald goes to Michigan State, and they play each other this year. So that's kind of a big move. And then this last one, I mean, you can talk on both. East Carolina's quarterback Hauser goes to Illinois, and essentially Luke Altmaier was the ultimate utility quarterback that Illinois needed to be 9-3, 10-2, and they're they're doing it. The transfer portal is essentially reloading, instead of like getting people to develop, they're just right in immediately, ready to go. So Childs and Hauser, what are your thoughts on that?
I like to think that both of them are going to be pretty good at their next stops, honestly. And I think again, we talked about the coaching changes for NU. Not too many offenses got bigger upgrades coach wise than NU did. Having Chip Kelly be the offensive coordinator, you saw how good he was at Ohio State for them. And then obviously, again, you watch Ohio State this last season, they missed Chip Kelly a lot. They did. And they were still
Sure.
really
Yeah,
good,
you can
obviously, because
tell.
they have great
Yeah.
players. But there were certain moments when you kind of missed Chip Kelly, especially in those playoff games and in that Big Ten championship against Indiana. Anyway, get off Ohio State. And then Jerry Neuheisel as the QB coach. I mean, that might be the biggest one because we
Yes.
saw, he took the whole college football world by storm, middle of last season, kind of reviving UCLA there, and he clearly loves football. He's clearly a guy that maybe needs
Need
some
some
fine
fine
tuning from
tuning.
a coaching perspective, but nobody better to help him develop than Chip Kelly. So Chip Kelly,
Yeah,
not only is he helping develop Aiden Childs, but he's also helping develop
that's true.
Jerry Neuheisel, who I could definitely see maybe a small prediction here. Chip Kelly maybe only spends a year at Northwestern or two. Jerry Neuheisel will be the offensive coordinator for NU once Chip Kelly
Interesting.
leaves. Yeah, I don't see this as a long-term destination for Chip, but I think Jerry Neuheisel will end
I
up
think
probably being the OC
you
there once
think
all said and done.
Kelly's just getting that Northwestern money.
Yeah, I mean, well, with how bad he was for the Raiders
Right.
as their offensive coordinator, he kind of needed a place to kind of go off silently, and I think
Lately.
Northwestern is a pretty good place for that to happen. Obviously, with the new stadium upgrades and everything, you got that to look forward to. Playing in Chicago.
Two quick things on players before we move forward, but Ohio State gets I, forgive me if I mispronounce his name, but Russaw, the
Quay
edge
Russaw.
rusher. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Michigan gets Henry from Utah. Obviously, that's,
yeah,
a player over, but edge
yeah,
rushers are kind of a thing these days. If you have a good one, it can really make a difference on the
yeah,
defensive side of the ball.
yeah.
And from
I don't know too
Alabama,
much about John Henry Daly, but I played I played a dynasty with Utah, and tell you what, Henry Daly was amazing for me with Utah there. So I'm sure he'll be great. And those two pickups for Ohio State, they got James Smith and Quay Russaw, both from Alabama. And it's funny, like I mean, it seems so long ago now, but in the middle of January, Ohio State fans were kind of panicking because they weren't getting, Brian Hartline obviously left, and he took a lot of players with him to South Florida, ones that weren't getting a lot of playing time at Ohio State. So a lot of our good depth pieces went with him, and then on the defensive side of the ball, things weren't going well there either, and we weren't getting a lot of the transfers we thought we should have gotten. And then out of nowhere, at seemingly the 11th hour, they announced that Quay Russaw and James Smith are both going to be Buckeyes, and I think that was one of the biggest the biggest days of the offseason. Both of those guys coming there because Ohio State desperately needed some defensive line and edge help heading into next season.
let's move on to the recruiting classes and USC. I mean, and I'm going to give you the national rank right now.
Yeah.
USC number one in recruiting. They have 3 5-stars, 19 4-stars, with their biggest commit being an edge guy. Oregon at number 3. So again, you're looking at Ohio State and Michigan, not even the top recruiting classes in the Big Ten. That does make a difference because now you're looking at better games, better players, and it's just going to essentially make the entire conference. Maybe it's already the best conference, I think, because of the 2 national championships or a couple national. I think 3 now in a row they've had.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, we're looking at massive recruiting classes. But look at this: Washington, number 13 overall. And
It's
Illinois number
disappointing for them.
that they're not better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's this year, and so we
Yeah.
have yet to see. And then surprisingly, Indiana at number 29. So the best team in the Big Ten is
Oh, you meant Washington's 13 in the country, not.
but Washington is their national rank recruiting is they have a 5-star and 4 4 stars.
But I'm
Then
saying like their national rank is 13, Washington.
yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about in the Big Ten. Yeah, no, that's
No,
fantastic for
no,
Washington.
I'm saying they
That's
bumped up
phenomenal.
to 13, yeah, while Indiana sits at number 29. I give you sources for all
Yeah.
those things. But
Well,
at
again, the Indiana thing, we have to take that with a grain of salt because they're getting a lot of the best experienced players. They just want to be old. That's just Kurt Signetti's thing. Obviously, it worked like a charm last year, and even in the biggest games. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. Even though Indiana is only 29, I think they got everybody
I'm
they wanted to get. So I don't think
well,
Signetti's gonna be
that's
like, oh,
that's
we're
true. I
29.
mean, execute a plan, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So and attached to that in the NIL money, okay, Oregon spent an average of $200,000 for an NIL deal. Indiana only spent 27,000 per average on the NIL. So I think there's still a necessity for a good coach and good, but money doesn't solve everything. And getting players to come to your school is a deal, because you have like obviously Rayola's move to Oregon was about his money. He lost big money and big opportunity at Nebraska, which is a whole nother podcast, by the way. Talk about that university. But for real, I don't think that the NIL is affecting, I don't think it translates to numbers that fans thought would happen. So for instance, Bryce Underwood, he did not, while he is awesome, it still isn't putting Michigan back to where they need to be. The money spent and the amount of money spent on NIL is not, at least early on and so far. Now, you could say that there are exceptions, but I believe Indiana is proving that you don't have to be the biggest recruiter. You don't have to have the most money. You just have to have the best coach and best players according to your plan. And that's kind of where I stand.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Is there anything else as far as player moves that we didn't talk about? I mean, we didn't go over the defensive side of things too much, but how about maybe returning players like Jeremiah Smith coming back for Ohio State? I mean, the fact that he did not get well, where do you stand on Jeremiah Smith? You think he's going to be? This is his last year?
For sure. For sure. He could have, like, you have to play 3 years in college. He could have come out after his freshman year and been a top 10 pick. I mean, that's just how good he is. Um, yeah, thankfully we get one more season with him. Of course, like there were times in the middle of last year, it was like, man, I can't believe we have him now. We still get one more year, but now we really only have that one more year.
Wait, you
So I
said
wish the
3 years
games,
in college?
you have to play 3 years in college, yes. Or at least you have to be on a roster for 3 years.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because he redshirted, right?
and no, he never did. No.
Oh, so he has 2 more years.
He only has one. He's played two. He has one more left.
So okay.
Um, but no, I mean, I'm just gonna try to be as grateful as possible that we get one more year with him. He is, of all the great Ohio State receivers. I mean, there truly isn't a guy who from day one dominated the way that he did. And I think when it's all said and done, he'll probably go down as the best Ohio State receiver to ever do it. I truly believe that.
Wow, that
Um,
is a really big statement
it
because
is, considering
they
how many
have
great
a
receivers they've
ton.
had.
Oh yeah,
It is, but I think that's really not going to end up being a hot take when it's all said and
there's
done.
a
And
there's a big
um,
if this year. So I mean,
yeah, I mean their schedule is this is by far and away the hardest Ohio
yeah.
State schedule I've ever seen in my life. Um, so and they've never, and since I've been a fan, thank you God, since 2012, they have never lost three or more games in a year. I mean, think about it. I mean, that's just insane. I think every other team in the country since 2012 has lost at least three games. Most have probably done it multiple times. So again, I'm very thankful for that, and this could be the first year. I'm not gonna hide behind that. This could definitely be the first year. I don't know. I don't know if, again, we'll probably do prediction videos over the summer. I'm not sure if I'm gonna predict it, but it's definitely possible. So I'm fully braced for it because it's going to be a long and emotional year for sure.
All right, quick hits before we finish here. Jeremiah Smith, Heisman, All American. What do you think? You think he?
Got wide receivers and running backs with this much hype heading into a year rarely ever win the Heisman. So
Oh,
I'm going to say
I
no,
know.
honestly.
Honestly,
Now, granted, one big difference between this year and last year is that we have more massive games this year. Last year, the schedule was really easy. I mean, relatively speaking, of course.
yeah, minus the
Um,
juggernauts. Yeah,
the
or
biggest games on their
Oregon,
schedule,
Indiana.
right? We didn't have to play those two, and we only had to play Indiana in the Big Ten championship. So, um, the schedule last year ended up being a lot easier than we could have realized, and so him being in those big games might help his case a lot. But I do think Julian Sand is just as likely to win the Heisman as well.
Okay.
Um, so it'll be very very interesting. But again, definitely possible. He's going to be one of the favorites. I haven't
There
looked at
are a
the odds
lot in
yet.
the running for that. Yeah, there are a ton.
Yeah,
Okay, quick hits. This is according to FanDuel, not a sponsor. Uh, over unders for win totals. So right now they have Indiana and Oregon both at 10.5.
makes sense.
Agree or disagree?
I agree wholeheartedly.
So you think that's a good set? You think they're both going to win 10? Ohio,
Again, I haven't looked at the schedules. I think 10 is about the baseline for them, I would say.
yeah, because Oregon's favored in the national title things, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
Uh, Ohio State 9.5. Low?
That's the lowest I've ever seen. They're always 10 plus. Yeah.
Again, you have them down as a gauntlet schedule. So could
Yeah.
this be? I mean,
I mean, off the
it,
top of my head, they host Oregon. They have to go to USC. Obviously, they play Michigan at the end of the year. They have to go to Indiana. I mean, it's going to be. They have to go to Texas at the start of the year. They have to go to Nebraska. I think they have to go to Iowa. It is a gauntlet of a road
yeah.
schedule this year. And of course, like I said, Oregon and Michigan are at
So,
home.
so that's why I'm thinking it's 9.5. I'm not surprised because it is 9.5. So,
Yeah.
what a lot of people are going to be putting the bet on 10 wins. So they would win. Penn State. This is the biggest. I can't believe Vegas has this, but Penn State in a lot of different formats of betting are putting them at 9.5. Well, okay, so they win. They do make a bowl game last year after the incredible losses to UCLA and Northwestern. They do have a decent comeback at the end of the year, and I think they won their bowl game.
Yeah, they went 7-6.
But
Yeah.
the Campbell reset, so to speak, is going to be a positive for them. So again, that's crazy. USC at 8.5. I think it's probably where it needs to be, but with the talent and again, maybe let's see, Lincoln Riley is the reason they're 8.5. I don't know.
I
I
think
can't hate on
Lincoln
Riley
Riley's on the
because he
hot
does
seat.
have numbers, but
I think he's on the hot seat this year. I think he's been there for this will be his fifth year at
at
USC, and I think
USC,
he's been an utter failure. Utter failure.
yeah.
As soon as he lost
Now,
Caleb, like the last 2 years, he hasn't had Caleb Williams. Even
yeah.
Caleb Williams' last year there, they went 7-5 or something. So yeah, he's got a
Well,
lot of
Williams
answering
was
to do.
injured
Obviously,
those
with this
years.
recruiting class, even when he's got this recruiting class coming in, the excuses are over.
Yeah, obviously Caleb
If you
Williams
can't
was
win
awesome.
with this class, I think Lincoln Riley's on the hot seat.
Michigan 8.5, probably right where they're maybe, yeah, I'd say 8 games. 8.5, I'd probably bet that they only win 8. And then at the low, we got Nebraska at 5.5. Now, if there's a team that you could successfully say they'll probably win 5 games, but no more than 6, it's Nebraska. So that's perfect. And honestly, you talk about the hot seat. Matt Rule is clearly under a lot of pressure. I think this is his 4th year, and he has yet to put together a double-digit season with, and they have sold out stadiums like so. Maybe the two hot seat positions are Lincoln Riley and Matt Rule. That's a good point.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and then Illinois. Lastly, if you could set an over under that you felt betting the over on, right? They're 7.5 according to FanDuel right now. 7.5 is about where I can see them going 7-5, but I can also see Illinois going 8-4. I don't believe they will go more than 8-4. I think this is a very good number for them to place.
I do too. I mean, this is unfortunately for them. This is perennially where they are. Last year,
Or
all the
anyway,
hype in the world,
yeah,
all the hype in the world,
all the hype they
very
could have.
disappointing, all things considered. Now, again, most good Illinois seasons come when they're
They're
not
not
hyped up,
done.
and when they are, they
They
always
was
disappoint.
disappointing.
So,
So, but if there
who
was
knows?
ever a year, it was last
Yeah,
year.
and
All
you
right.
asked me, I forgot you asked me about Caden Hauser earlier, just really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be really, really good. I think I think he's gonna be way better than Altmaier, way better than Altmaier. I was not a fan of Luke Altmaier, so
He was
great
just
pickup
too
getting Caden Hauser.
mid. But all right, well that's the conversation for today. We're going to end things. We'll pick up again shortly on the Big Ten and talk about other conferences as well, because there is just as equally big news. I mean, the Big Ten is crazy news, but there's some big news in the other conferences, and we'll get on that in the next episode. Have a good one.